Hi everyone, welcome to Veronika Hug. Today I'll show you how you can crochet the hat I called Hope. So I have here the knitted version and this will be a crocheted version. So since I decided to do this project about a pretty sensitive topic, I decided to play you the part from the first video so that you know what it's about and what the whole idea behind it is. So I'll play that now and afterwards we'll get on with the project. So I hope you enjoy the whole thing. And I decided to call this hat Hope because of all of the coronavirus chaos going on, and I've been thinking about all the people that have to be in quarantine for 2 weeks until they are checked for it and hopefully let to go home safely and healthily. So those people have been on my mind a lot, and I know that 2 weeks are a really long time, especially if you have to stay in one space for the whole duration of it. So actually there is a center for that close to where I live, and I was thinking about all those people that came back from China and have to stay there. I decided to do a care package for them, so we delivered that, some wool, some needles and crocheting needles, so maybe someone there can pass the time a little bit more quickly by crocheting or learning how to crochet or knit. So that's why I call today's project Hope. I know that 14 days can seem like a really long time, and I hope everyone gets out after those 14 days healthily and safely, and that you can return to your homes. Okay, so feel free to participate if you'd like to. So here I'm showing you an example of the pattern that we will do. So I tried it out to see how many stitches I need for 10 centimeters of length. And in my case, that's 18 stitches. And just like in the last video, I'll do a women's size. So I'll need 25 centimeters, which means that we will need 2 times 18. Which is 36, and for the last 5 centimeters we will need 9 more stitches, which means that we will do a total of 45 stitches. Of course, if you're doing a different size, you can adjust this accordingly, but if you're a beginner, I highly recommend you follow my number of stitches because it's going to be easier to do in the end. So as always, we begin with some chains. So I'll show you first how to get your thread onto the needle. So you can leave about 10 centimeters at the end, and then you can take your thread and put it into a loop like this over the thread that's closer to the spool. And then you put the loop over the end thread and you pull it through. So that's how you get this little loop that you can adjust in size. Then put it onto your needle, and when you do that, adjust the size, so pull it tight on there and we can get started. Okay, so your left hand, you go through the ring finger and pinky, or between them, to the index finger. And around the index finger like this, and then you can hold your piece with your middle finger and your thumb. So that's what gives us security when you work with it. So this is the position. The index finger you can use to regulate your tightness. Some people like to take this thread and have it doubled on there. For some it works better, but either way, this is our starting position. So we need 45 chains, and chains we do by taking the thread and simply pulling it through the loop. So this is the first chain. Let's do more. 5, and make sure you're working this loosely. You don't want it too tense. It will be difficult to work with them in the next row. 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, and that's our width, or actually the height of our hat. Now we do a chain for the height, and then we go in here into the first chain and we take the thread through it. Two loops on the needle, take the thread again and go through the two loops. So that's how you do a single crochet. And then again go through, take the thread through there, and again take the thread and go through both of the loops on your needle. Always take the thread from under. Sometimes you can accidentally go from top, but that changes the look of the single, and we don't want that this time. This is great for practice, and as you can notice, it's not too difficult to do. And you do all 45 stitches like this. Actually, this is the hardest part and probably the most time-consuming part as well. So when I started crocheting as a kid, I would actually always ask someone who knew how to crochet if they can start the row for me, and then I would just continue from there on. But yeah, it's great to learn and practice how to do this. Try it out and see what works best for you. So you need to be somewhere between very loose and very tight. You do want it to have its form and shape, but you also don't want it to have any tension. So if you're a beginner, just stick with it. Don't get disappointed, and you'll learn it in no time. A nice beginning ensures a neat project as a whole. Last chain. And we did the first row now, so we can move on to our next row, and we will do all of them the same way. So we do one chain for the height, and then we turn and we go into this section here. So I hope you see it well into the back section of it. So usually we would go through the whole V or the whole stitch, but this time we're going just into the back section, and this is gonna stay the same in every single row, and that's how we get this ribbed pattern that looks really nice in the end. Also, this way we get a nice result that fits your head nicely and is very comfy to wear. At the end of the row, do a chain for the height and continue the same way as so far. So I'm at the end of the row, so it's also important to see how far I need to go. So you see here, I have just the 3 more stitches left to do in this row. Okay, done. And now we can turn with a chain, and then you see here your first stitch. So just take a closer look and yeah, make sure to check. So here is the chain, and this is the first stitch that you take the back section of, and you do your singles here, or you start them from here. Now we again do the same thing, and we continue this way until we get 5 to 6 centimeters less than the total size that we planned for. For a lady's size, I usually do about 54 centimeters of length, so I'll work this until I have 48 centimeters total. With knitting, I did 49 centimeters since they are a bit tighter, but with crocheting, I'll do 48. So have fun while getting there, and I'll meet you after the 48 centimeters to show you how you can get on from there. Okay, so I'm at the end of my first spool, so I'll show you how to do that, and I'll measure too. So I have 26 centimeters for now, which is a bit over half of what I need. So let me get to the other end of the row, and I'll show you the change. You may also notice that while I'm working my stitches, I'm holding the whole piece in such a way that helps me to find the stitches more easily, or the back sections of it. So this way I help the stitches stand out, the back section of it that we're going through, so that way we can easily work our stitches that way. When I hold it like this, I have to kind of twist it to the front, but feel free to find your own method. Don't forget your last stitch, and then leave your thread as it is. So you should have 2 loops on your needle. We are not finishing the last stitch just yet. We're leaving it as it is for now. This won't be enough for a new row, so we're starting a new spool. So take your new thread and then finish the last 2 loops. And then we have a chain for the height, and we continue as we did so far, as if the thread hadn't changed at all. These we will weave in later, and that side is going to be pulled together. So like we did here on the knitted version, so you won't be able to see the change in the end. Okay, so now we will continue till we get the 48 centimeters. In case of a men's size, you'd just use up the 2 entire spools. That way you don't have leftovers, which is also pretty nice. Anyway, I'll meet you at 48 centimeters. Okay, so I have here the length that I need, 48 centimeters, and now I'm on the other side of my piece compared to the thread change. So just make sure you're aware of that. Here, I'll cut the thread off, but I'll leave about 80 centimeters of length, or that's a bit under a yard. And then I'll take this onto a sewing needle. A darning needle would work just fine as well. We go through the loop and then we pull it tight. We do a knot here, and I'll do a double knot, and then later we can weave this in so that they are kind of hidden in the stitches of the rows so that they disappear. So we will do that later. Now we will start the connecting, our beginning and end, so that we can put this together into a really nice hat shape. So that's going to be our next step, putting it into a loop, so to speak. So from the bottom side through and through the top part as well, and pull the thread through. And we will keep doing this with all stitches. Okay, so just finish the whole thing and take care that you stay parallel on the top and the bottom so that you have a nice ending and nice symmetry. And then I'll show you how to pull the top section together into a hat shape as well. Okay, so I'm almost done. Also, I wanted to mention, make sure you don't have any tension. So you can make a mistake of pulling the thread a little bit too tight. And I'll show you what that looks like. So it looks pretty weird and we don't want that happening. So make sure you pull on it throughout the work, and that way it's gonna be really nice in the end. I'll just finish this really quick. Here at the end we go through and pull this tighter, and now we will do a knot through this last stitch 2 times to make sure it stays in place. And then we can turn this inside out and take our needle with us. Here is the connecting row, almost invisible. Pretty and very easy to do. Anyway, now we need to pull the top section together just like we did with our knitted version. Okay, now pull the thread through each of the ribs. So through every other row, we have ribs on the inside too, but we're leaving those out, so just skip those. Almost done. Okay, now that we have all of the stitches, we can pull them together. And when you notice the stitches jumping out, then you can take your needle and just follow the thread you just did through them one more time. So basically pull the thread through the same spots so that it's doubled in there. Then you can pull it together easier and it also looks nicer and makes sure everything stays in place like it's supposed to. And you see here the stitches and what I mean. Here the stitches get onto the thread, so we want to have that doubled so that everything keeps its shape. Okay, this is it. Now we can pull the thread really tight. Not too tight though, you don't want it to rip, but it should be nicely pulled here. So now we can do a knot here on top. So go through a couple of times the other side, there and back. That way we also close up the hole. In the end, we want to pull the thread through the inside. And when we do that, we can then close the opening fully. I'll do another knot here and then I'll weave in. And we are done. The beginning thread we need to weave in and the two ends from where we changed the spools, and then we're done. And the hat is officially finished, and so is your entire project. So it takes a while, but it's not too long to do. Also super simple. So I hope you guys enjoyed, I hope you had fun, I hope you stay healthy and pass the time quicker with this project, and yeah, I wish you a safe and healthy return home.